So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell people that this is you personally? How would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dapper Reacts 33, the most secretive of episodes. If you're here, you're in the inner circle of the conspiracy to, promote science, I guess? And, I don't know. That's about all I got. The secret conspiracy to stop people from being such dumbasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, there's a lot of dumbassery around there, so I don't know if we're making progress. But that's okay. Of course, in case you guys don't know about the 33 meme, check it out. It's a whole big meme in a lot of conspiracy theory and flat earth circles. Which, I mean, look, the Venn diagram for conspiracy theories and flat earth is like a bigger circle with a smaller circle inside, and that smaller circle is flat earth.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's not like there are non-conspiracy theorist flat earthers.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Vishanti, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm making up for last week when I had a migraine and I wasn't able to join you while you were wearing your human suit, so I wore my dinosaur head.
Yeah, I was going to say you're looking much nicer than I'm used to. Not that you don't normally look nice, but like, wow, you really stepped it up today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I was going to wear.
Well, I appreciate you dressing up so much for this channel.
Well, I take this very seriously.
Yes, I mean, as well you should. This is a very serious show. That's why we have a drink counter.
This is the Illuminati 33 special, and
right.
reptilian Jews are a thing, so I had to hide in plain sight.
Yeah. Are non-reptilian Jews a thing? Okay, making sure. All right. So we're going to dive right into it real soon with the drinking rules, but first I want to say a special thank you to David Hercules, who sent me a gift, which you guys are going to get to see on Wednesday. I'm not going to reveal what the gift actually is, although if you are paying attention to my wish list, which I don't know why you would be, but if you were, you could use process of elimination to figure out what it might be. But he sends a card that says, "This may not be the most necessary thing on your list, per se," spelled P-E-R-S-A-Y, one word. I hope it brings you joy, which, by the way, it has. A few people have already seen it. Vishanti's seen it, Chesh has seen it, a few other people have seen it, and I think it's pretty clear that I'm really enjoying that gift. It's currently on display in this room. Not too close to me, but, so, we got a couple membership things and a super chat and whatnot to go through. Let's see, we got DM Wing. Can't watch today, but here for $10. Can't watch today, but here's to Turtles being the best tetrapod. That is still going to be one of those. I will not take that stance, but neither will I argue against it. Is where that is. We got Heather Kuhn, who just joined the channel at the tetrapod level. So if you have not already, send some tetrapods to Heather Kuhn.
Pelagic tunicate emojis. Look, that is the tradition.
Sessile tunicates are an acceptable alternative to tetrapod emojis.
Send 33 of them.
Well, okay, yes, 33, but not pelagic tunicates. Tetrapods and or sessile tunicates. We've got that as an emoji now. Let's see.
Yeah, the Dutch tunicates.
Look, there's only so many ways I can put those colors over a tunicate without it just turning into a mess. And one of them is Russian, the other one is French, and the other one is Dutch. And of those, I felt like Dutch was probably the most appropriate.
Question, steal the spice trade. That's not a question, but the Dutch did it anyway.
Fearmonger Official, who's been a member for 7 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, "Nuknech Hoch," which... what... It's not really a sentence, because nuknech isn't like a verb. But it's like, what do you want? Or hi, oh, you know what? Maybe we're going for, there should be an apostrophe, like nuknech Hoch, which is like, hi, everybody. Let's see. I don't have anything smart today. Let's see. Fight Valve. Yeah, I don't have anything smart today, or anyone smart today. Be anyone. Vite could be anyone or anything. And then he says that you honor us, which is directed presumably to me because I'm the one who is addressing. So thank you very much, Fearmonger official. That's generally very well constructed. I appreciate the effort. And Christine V, who's now a new member at the tetrapod level. So again, send tetrapods and or
pelagic tunicate emojis.
Not pelagic, sessile tunicate. Good, hardworking, God-fearing American tunicates.
Dutch tunicates.
I think that species is actually from like the Indian Ocean or something. I don't know. It's like
P.S. I have an announcement.
Oh, you have an announcement?
It is, yes. It as of about 6 minutes ago has been exactly 54 days, 1 hour and 6 minutes that Sal Cordova has been bitch made.
Would you look at that?
How about that? And that counter could end at any time.
Yeah, all he has to do is watch the videos, indicate that he has done, and I'll take him at his word.
Yeah.
In fact, he's welcome to pop in and be like, "Oh, hey, I watched those," and then we're good.
The counter would stop.
Yeah, because it's not that he hasn't watched them that bugs me. It's that he hasn't watched, but has said that he is responding. Right?
No,
that's the thing. Because here's the thing, right?
Not how that works.
Putting my name on something doesn't guarantee I'm going to watch it. Not many, but people have made videos with my name on it that I haven't watched. The difference is, I'm not then pretending to have responded to that thing.
That would quite literally be like me doing a review of the Game of Thrones series, having never read it nor watched it.
Mm-hmm. My review of the books are, I don't care what Brienne of Tarth had for every meal, and that's why I stopped reading.
I don't have a review because I don't care for high fantasy or fantasy in general. I prefer sci-fi. So that is the main reason that I have not read them.
All right, so we're going to go over the drinking rules real quick. By the way, I am drinking some not quite champagne. This is like an American champagne because, quite frankly, I don't really want to spend a huge amount of money on a bottle of wine for this. But this is a bit of a celebratory drink because we're celebrating two major events at least. One of which being the death of Pat Robertson, who is an absolute garbage pail of a person. Or was
and during Pride Month.
Yep. Died during Pride Month. A more fitting date death could not be found for such a man. In case you guys don't know, this was a TV... I don't want to quite say he was a televangelist because he wasn't really doing like church services so much. He was more like just doing like Christian commentary on the news. I don't know what noun to use for that, but yeah, anyway, he was a Christian commentary guy on a Christian broadcasting network. He was the head guy for the 777 Club. And he's the guy who said...
Club.
Or 700 Club? Oh yeah, the 777 is Kent Hovind's give me a buck a day thing that he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Goodness. Anyway, so he's the guy who did things like say that 9/11 was caused by the gays, as well as Hurricane Katrina. Because, of course, terrorist attacks and hurricanes never happened until Americans became a little bit less oppressive to gay people.
I will adjust that slightly. He blamed Hurricane Katrina on abortion.
Oh, right.
Which is, totally more plausible.
Yeah, sorry about that. How could I have mixed up the obvious and true causes of these two events? All right. The other one, of course, is the recent indictment in federal court of the 45th President of the United States for 37 counts. Which, yeah. And also the hugely overwhelming evidence that he's guilty of at least almost all of them.
He broke some of the cardinal rules of, like, casual criminalist. Don't ttell people about your crimes.
Don't record your crimes.
Don't record your crimes.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Don't take photos of your crimes.
Yeah, these are some of the big ones.
Also, I will say that rest in peace, Pat Robertson, but my favorite quote by him, which is just unintentionally hilarious, is he says the feminist agenda is not about equal rights for women. It's a socialist, anti-family political movement that encourages women to leave their husbands, kill their children, practice witchcraft, destroy capitalism, and become lesbians.
That is
Based.
quite a specific thing right there. Nee says,
Just-
sends... Oh, sorry.
Great.
Nee for $6.66 says, send nudes, nudibranks. My nomination for the next emoji.
Yeah.
And then sends, where attempts to send all three of the kaiju emojis, but I think you're on one of the apps that has trouble with that. So we'll take our first drink for the day.
I second the nudibranch.
It would be a good emoji. All right.
Definitely,
We
I
gotta-
like those.
We got a ways to go to we're there, though. So let's talk about doing the drinking game. So we're going to go over it real quick. What you already saw. If you are a channel member, you can send one or more of the three Godzilla or Mothra or Ghidorah emojis. Take a drink for that. If it's in a super chat or a milestone chat. Let's see. Oh, Mariana. Oh, goodness, there's another one of them. That's if you hear Godzilla, we'll take a drink. Heard Godzilla, let's take a drink for that. Real quick, Mariana Night Owl says, many, many years ago, Robertson was a televangelist and built many an old lady out of her social security check.
Yep.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
Glad he's down with his buddy Jerry Falwell burning in hell.
You don't believe in
If
hell.
one exists.
Yeah.
If one were to exist, they both deserve to go there.
Okay, so those are two. There's also a Mothra sound that might come through. We'll take a drink for that too. We'll also take a drink if the creationist in question. Here we have David Reeves, who is he's quite a special person. Yeah, we'll take a drink if what they say is just too stupid. And we need to cool our brains off, or if they get something that's factually correct, that they're not just quoting, right? They actually have it come out from their brain down to their vocal apparatus, and they say the true thing. And we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if they tell a story that didn't happen, or tell a joke that didn't land. So for a joke that didn't land is pretty easy. For example, if they tell the story about this wonderful argument that they won with a professor on a plane from Berkeley that was actually more likely an argument they won with their shampoo bottle while taking a shower, having some shower thoughts, take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink anytime the creationist mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party or various of their these significant activities in the early 20th century or prominent members of that party. We'll say that. I think that's reasonable, right? If you don't know what the National Socialist German Workers' Party is, look it up. It's you'll know what we're talking about. Let's see. This isn't Matt Powell, but if it were, I'd say the same thing is true for Columbine, because my goodness, he likes to bring that up.
Yeah, he really likes Columbine.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he hates Columbine as an event, but he loves talking about it.
As a topic.
Yeah.
He talks about it a lot.
Yeah, he's not pro
Really
the actual event of Columbine, which, I mean, hey, good on him. He could be worse than he is now by being, it was great. So, Nee for $5 says, Pat Robertson has been sewn onto Ernest Hengly's buffet as part of a televangelist centipede. Kenneth Copeland will join them by Labor Day weekends. Goodness.
Oh, one can only hope.
Yeah, the televangelist human centipede sounds like a great idea. For the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not suggesting that anyone now take any currently living televangelists and turn them into a human centipede. That would be wrong and very, very illegal. Don't do that.
But yeah, it would also be very hilarious.
That's true, but I am telling you, don't do that. And if you think you should, talk to a lawyer first. We'll probably also tell you not to do that. Another Coon for $5 says, I used to own a New Age store. Trust me, witches can do capitalism. Yeah, that's true. I've been into
Yes,
plenty
they
of witch
can.
shops.
I'm actually across the street from a New Age store.
If you're in Salem, Massachusetts, they're just witch stores. They're not even New Age stores.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, this is where the witches hang out. Because one of the things about Salem is it's the best place to be like, oh, I'm a witch. Because sure, maybe a few hundred years ago it wasn't a great idea, but now what does everyone think of Salem, Massachusetts? They all think about the witch trials. Which makes it a great place to go for Halloween, by the way. If you're in the Massachusetts area, you wanna have a good time. Salem usually has some pretty good stuff to do on Halloween. Anyway, we'll also take a drink if we're not sure where the creationist is going to go, but one of us manages to successfully predict where they end up in terms of their argumentation. And then I think the only thing that I'm missing is that we will also take a drink if anyone super chats anything to the effect that AIG, that's Answers to Genesis, are a bag of dicks. But you have to be careful because you can't just say bag of dicks because YouTube will censor it. Have I left anything off that you can remember?
Trojan source.
Trojan source, right. Dave Reeves doesn't do a whole lot of that. But if a source is cited that not only fails to support the contention made by the creationists, but directly contradicts it, take a drink for that too. All right, I think that does it for rules. All right, now that we've been live for almost 20 minutes, here's the main event.
In the book of 2 Peter that says that the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. It's a global flood account that is spoken of as literal history.
And it's wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the argument that the Bible takes seriously the idea that the flood is a literal history in various parts isn't a very good argument for the actual existence of the flood. Instead, it's a good argument against the idea of biblical literalism.
And it also assumes that the people writing it took it literally, and that the people who heard it took it literally. And those are some pretty big assumptions.
They are. Yeah. So it's always a weird point to me. The thing is, if you want to convince me that your theology is right... Oh, hey, look, we got some Mothra coming up. Take a drink from Mothra.
Woohoo!
All right, if you want to convince me that your theology is right, pointing out that you got it from the book you got it from doesn't really help, right? Like, well, of course you got it from your reading of the Bible. You're a Christian. That's what I would expect. That doesn't help any. So, yeah. All right, here we go.
It was a catastrophe that reshaped the planet. But does the Bible know best? Is that real science? Is it good science?
No.
It's not.
It's really not.
No.
Yeah. Remember, this is also the book that says that you can get stripy cattle by making cattle mate in front of stripy sticks. And that says that
I will correct you on that. It was sheep, and two, it just says that happened for one guy. It doesn't tell you that that's in across the rule board.
Okay, but it's also not indicating that this is some kind of special thing. Because it's not like, oh, and then God came down and did a miracle. It's just like, well, of course this works.
Maybe he had a magic wand. You don't know.
I'm just saying, what for me would count as a plain reading by the creationist definition of that passage. It's just presented as like, of course, this is how you get stripy sheep. You just have a mate in front of stripy sticks. Just that he was smart and figured it out. And also, you know, if you take the Bible literally, the value of pi is 3.
And you know what? I'm fine with that, honestly, because there's no rational expectation to have that they would have gotten 3.1. Like, for Pete's sake, I hear people use that a lot. They're like, oh, pi is 3. And I'm like,
look,
do you realize that we didn't have more precise values for pi until pretty recently in human history? So
here's what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying that the Bible is wrong for including these things or dumb. I'm saying that if you want to take the entire Bible literally in all the places where it's not obviously a metaphor, you run into these problems. So it's not it's not an argument that like, oh, the Bible's dumb for giving a ratio between radius and circumference of 3. It's not. It's dumb for, you know, it's dumb if you take it as literally true, that everything it says is literally true, where it's not an obvious metaphor. I agree with
Steve Areno, who says the value of pi depends on the filling.
Ah. All right. Yes, I did list the rule about you need to cool your brains down. All right, here we go.
Surely we would have seen evidence of these things all around the world if it really was such a devastating event.
You know what? You're right. You're right, David Reeves. We would have.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to take a drink for saying something true. That's true. We would have.
That has to be r/self-aware wolves just poster child.
Yeah, that's
yeah, that is wow. You really hit the nail on the head there.
Well, I'm curious to see what he's going to do, because my prediction is he's going to talk about the Grand Canyon. That's my prediction. I think he's going to talk about the Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon that contains different types of rock that can't form in turbulent water?
Mhm.
That Grand Canyon?
It also
Okay.
it has at least one layer that did form in turbulent water, to be fair.
Did most of them?
Almost none of them.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Vadim says Aaron Raj has entered the chat. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's streaming right now. I think he's reading Exodus 24.
It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Let's ask that question. Does the Bible know best? Bent strata is found all over the world, and a lot of the sites have these smooth folds that bend at extreme angles. You see the picture?
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
That's
Dapper.
evident.
Did most of those types of rock form in non-turbulent water?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
Just checking.
I'll point something out here. We've known experimentally, by which I mean like actually taking real rocks and doing experiments on them, that given high enough temperatures and confinement pressures, that rock will plastically deform like this, just because of pressure from either side will cause it to buckle and make smooth folds. And we've known this since the 1910s.
Robert Carpenter says lots of yeks have smooth folds in their brains.
That's if they're lucky enough to have folds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? This is a point, and creationists love this is, not just historical science. This is operational science. We can do it in a lab. We've been bending rock like this in a lab for over 100 years. And the best argument that any creationists have come up with to say, well, it had to be unlithified when it was folding, has been, well, there aren't many stress fractures. I want you to look right through the middle of that fold. What do you see there? It's a big old stress fracture, like the whole way down. And you can see further stress fractures in either direction.
Anytime a creationist starts talking about historical science, just tell them to throw out all of forensics forever.
We should probably be freeing a lot of people from prison right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, anybody who was convicted on forensic evidence immediately needs to be freed from jail and have their record expunged.
Because that's not real science.
They're going to do that? Weird.
Yeah, they're actually usually really big on the prison state.
Yeah.
And they usually tend to like it quite a bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird. So, of course, there's also things like, we actually do have examples of folded strata that were folded while some of the members of this formation were unlithified. And what you get is this barrier between the unlithified layers that gets blurred and also tends to have a little milky film in it, which is just like the various tiniest particles being squeezed together. And most folded sedimentary strata don't have any of that. So we can usually not only say that there's no good reason to think that these were unlithified, we can usually preclude that these were unlithified. We're just going to take a drink for David Reeves, basically not knowing anything about how rocks work. Take a drink for that.
While you're taking a drink, the chat is roasting Andrew Snelling. Dr. Fearmonger official says the stress fracture's so big Andrew Snelling wouldn't dare use a picture of it without a crowd of people lying over the whole formation.
Yeah. In case you're new, Andrew Snelling famously used a picture of some folded strata in a paper that he published in his own journal, by the way, claiming that there were no stress fractures or no large-scale stress fractures in this formation. If you take a look at the USGS photos of the exact same location, yeah, there are stress fractures exactly where he had people posed in the original picture. Weird. That's just such a weird coincidence.
So scummy.
Yeah.
So scummy.
I wonder, like, oh, Dapper, how can you say that they're just being dishonest? You just disagree with them. Man.
They're literally putting people in front of the thing they say so they can say it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's so slimy, I bet that Sal likes him.
I don't know. Although now I want to do that meme with...
he could prove me wrong, though.
The meme of like, hey, what you got there? And there's an ostrich, and the guy's got a smoothie in his other hand. He's like, a smoothie? I kind of want to put, like, Andrew Snelling's face over that guy, and then it's just like, hey, what you got there? and there's all these stress fractures all over the folded strata, and he's like, "What you got there?" He's like, "My students just hanging out."
My students. Yes. Good.
Goodness. All right, here we go.
Good.
Of a catastrophe. I was up in British Columbia, Canada, on a one-week speaking tour, and I showed this photo. Someone came up to me afterwards. He said, "David, right down the road, we have this one." And he gave me the picture on the left. And he's like, "That's even more extreme. Look at that smooth fold, and everything is just bent back in on itself." I'm like, "Wow, can I use that?" He gave me the picture to use. I lead...
Just didn't even mention the stress fractures. That's fine.
Yeah, they're
fine, Dave.
very obvious there. And as TD points out, yeah, if these had been unlithified, it would have got rid of the stratification. The fact that there is stratification means it wasn't unlithified. Now, in fact, if you want to see smooth deformation in some strata that aren't actually fully stratified as a result of this, that happened when the sediment in question was unlithified, there's a formation in like northern Arizona, like southern Utah, called the Wave, or the Big Wave. It's an Aeolian sandstone that before lithification, but after deposition, was plastically deformed. And yeah, you can go look at it. It's right there. You know what it doesn't have a lot of? All these stress fractures. Weird, isn't it? In fact, actually, it was I talked about it in one of my videos a while back because it was a response to Cindy Lincoln, who had put out a video about like how obviously all the rocks are flood rocks. And she used this as an example of like, look at this nice smooth folding. It had to have happened before it was lithified. It's like, yes, in this case, but look at all the counterpoints.
She's an expert, so she would know.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I pointed out in that video is like, Cindy, you and as well as many other creationists are just looking at rocks and going like, well, it kind of looks like.
Huh.
But like, there's this thing called geology.
All pseudoscientists use the argument from looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Pro tip, that's not a thing.
By the way, I'm seeing less than half the people have liked this video, which means, yet again, and I hate to say it, but I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. And you can think about that while you're hitting like.
Geology tours in eastern Tennessee. Last year I led one up to a coal seam and an old railroad, and there was this piece of bent strata that was 100% vertical, and then right about where I'm standing it turns and becomes horizontal again. Cool. These kind of things are actually fairly common in...
Hey, that part's true. We'll take a drink and then I'll read the €5 super chat.
While you're doing that, and I replied, but an intrigued feline asked why I'm wearing a Dapper suit. It's because I had a migraine last week and I wasn't able to join the 10K subscriber stream when he was wearing his human suit.
I mean, I think the better question is, why would you ever not wear a Dapper suit?
I mean, the rest of it's in my closet, so it's also kind of hot right now, so...
Okay, that's actually not the worst. Man, that human suit got hot.
I can't type with only 3 digits. Not really effective here.
I manage it with 4, and one of them barely exists. So...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better than boxing gloves, but I need 5 digits to type.
The Screen Geek for €5 says, just chiming in to say hello, leave a like, and tip Dapper. Hope you can make it on Wednesday. Sorry, hope I can make it on Wednesday. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll be on the road, but I want to join the birthday stream. Well, so I'm planning to stream for a while. So my goal right now for that stream is twofold. 1, have a good time on my birthday, hanging out with y'all. And 2, finish that game of Hollow Knight that we started for the 10K subscriber stream. Yeah, I'm going to try to get the Dream Nail, at least all the Watchers, and then beat the basic final boss, right? I'm not going to go for like the True Radiance ending or anything. So like, whatever. I'm not going to go through the the White Palace or the Path of Pain or anything, because it'll just take too long. And also, I hate the Path of Pain. There's a reason it's called that. Okay, we got a couple more things. Pelagic Truth official member for 2 months at the tetrapod level says, do you like Pelagic Tunicate only half as much as we like you? Less than half as much. Let's see. Let's start Ravane for $5 says, Leslie, no. How about a sexy hat, Ann Perkins? I don't know what that means. Vishanti. There you go. That's what that means, Ann.
Correct.
Okay.
I need to add a monocle and then like get a top hat.
You do. That would really sell it.
Then it would really be closer to a dapper
It's true. Yeah.
thing. It just need to add
I don't know where you would get
horns though.
like that big of a monocle. I don't think they normally make monocles quite that big.
Oh, I'm a cosplayer. I can improvise.
Fair enough. Savage Cobra official per se for $2 says Argumentum Eximus. I mean, yeah, kind of.
Geology around the world. How do you get bent strata? You see, you've got multiple layers of hardened strata, hardened rock that have been lithified, turned to stone, and they're bent, smoothly folded. It's kind of like these multiple layers of plywood, wood that's been glued together, hardened together, and yet this is straight. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set the microphone down, and I'm going to give you an example of how, over millions of years of slow geological time, we can turn lithified rock or plywood, hardened wood, into smoothly bent strata,
goodness.
just like you see. Are we ready?
Dapper. Is plywood solid pieces of wood, or is it little chips that have been pressed into a sheet?
It is little chips that have been pressed into a sheet and then had a with a binding agent.
Okay, and when you're bending sheets of wood, can you do that with just pressure? Or do you need stuff like moisture?
Moisture helps.
Does that help?
Heat helps as well. Also, you have to go relatively slowly, and usually having some confining pressure will also help, so that it can't
Doesn't just snap.
Right. Yeah, brittle fracture is much more likely without confining pressure. Yep.
Is that an appropriate analogy for rock bending?
It's not very good, although if you actually met all the preconditions of the higher heat and the confining pressure, then it might actually be an okay-ish analogy. But then you would also actually find that, in fact, you can bend wood like that. Because I don't know if you know.
I mean, I've seen people bend wood like that quite a bit.
Wood is a thing that bends. You just have to do it right. Which is also true for
I'm
rocks.
Going to just throw this out there. When people bend plywood, they tend to use like molds and machine presses. They generally don't just take the ends of it and push them together until it goes up or down or sideways or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's not how you do it.
Because that's kind of the way that Earth does it,
It is, actually. Earth has this thing called... Yeah, Earth has a whole lot of like heat down below the surface and also confining pressure because, the pressure at any given level is the result of the weight of all the rock above. And rock's kind of heavy. I mean...
It
rocks,
is a little.
Yeah, that's actually one of the first things you learn about rocks, like as a kid, is that generally speaking, they tend to be heavy compared to many other things in life. There are exceptions, right? Like pumice, but most people don't think of pumice when they think of rocks, and most rocks aren't pumice. Also, So Suave for $5 says nothing, but thank you very much for the $5. I really appreciate it. All right, well, let's see how accurate this is to the idea of bending rocks. Also, So Suave for $5 says, I'm at work, but here's some money. Thank you very much. Although, if you had wanted to say that the first time, you just tag me. Like, if this is just a rule. If anyone accidentally sends a super chat that's blank and you actually wanted to send a message, tag me. And also, try to make that message around the length that super chat would cost. If you try to like send it 2 paragraphs after sending a $1.99 super chat, I might truncate it.
Nee is reading my mind here. Nee says, isn't it harder to keep plywood from bending? That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, in many cases, yeah. Plywood likes to warp over time. Which, rock does too in certain conditions. All right, so let's see David Reeves just not understand rocks even harder.
This is science.
Not really.
It's not, though.
You got to take notes, dude. Are you taking notes? No, then it's not science. It's one of the key requisites of science. You got to take notes.
Yeah, that's the difference between science and screwing around.
Careful note keeping. Whoa.
Oh my.
This is what
Someone in
lapel
the
mics are
audience
for.
said very smooth.
No, that was him. He stepped away from the microphone and he doesn't have a lapel mic.
Very professional here, folks.
He couldn't even be bothered because you see that mic right there, right? Like that's a bendable, like stem thing right there. He could turn it towards himself so that he can still be picked up on the mic, but no. And yeah, I did more accurately describe particle board than plywood. Sorry about that.
I was thinking of plywood, which is little strips.
Yeah, it's strips.
I called them chips just because at the moment that word
yeah.
escaped my mind, but yes.
They have some thematic commonalities between them. But yeah. Oh man, you know what? Let's take a drink for being so stupid as to not understand things like confining pressure, which I'm going to keep repeating is really important for plastic deformation of, brittle things.
I honestly suspected that he would try to use like spaghetti noodles or something.
I was actually kind of hoping he'd just be too weak and it wouldn't work. Because I think that would be hilarious.
That would actually be hilarious. I'm a spaghetti noodle.
Do you see a problem?
No. Yes, I see a problem. It's that you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so let's talk about what confining pressure is, right? So, when you have something that's relatively brittle, which includes rock and most woods, right? If you just try to bend them, the easiest way for them to release the built-up pressure, which is you're adding energy to the system, is to simply fracture at a weak point. That releases all that energy right at once as a burst of kinetic energy, and then there you go. It's gone from that system. Sure, it's converted into thermal energy overall, but, everything is now back in its much happier, lower energy state. But if you have significant amounts of pressure that keep any particular part from simply bursting quickly, what you can start to do is you can start to actually plastically deform these brittle things. Now, plastic deformation doesn't have anything to do with the substance of plastic. It's an older term. What it basically just means is that you've bent something in a way that it is not going to immediately spring back from, nor has it fractured. So, for instance, if you were taking a piece of silverware and bent it, like maybe if you've been trying to use like a tablespoon for your ice cream to scoop it out because you don't have your ice cream scooper for some reason, you ever notice how, it can bend your spoon right at the neck? That's plastic deformation. Now,
the truth is, there is no spoon.
Well, I mean, that's true. That is the most truth part.
Whoa!
Wow. It sounded really mystical, but all it really comes down to is like, yeah, you're in a literal computer simulation, so it's a bunch of code, it's not a spoon. Which was already
we could
obvious.
That Israeli guy to bend spoons with his mind.
Uri Geller.
Uri Geller, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it when
that guy was definitely not fake.
When I think it was like the Tonight Show replaced his spoons with just general spoons, and then somehow his psychic powers failed.
Uh-huh. He was just off that day.
Anyway, now there's brittle fracture, which you can see if you ever try to do something like use an iron file as a crowbar, which don't do that. It's a really bad idea. You just break your file. But, sometimes you're desperate and you need to really wedge something open and all you have is a file. And then, unsurprisingly, it just shatters because iron files are very hard and very, very brittle. Now, rock is much more like the iron filing general, or the iron file, sorry, than it is like your spoon. However, if pressure prevents brittle fracture, it causes plastic deformation. And again, 1910s is when we experimentally verified how this works for rocks.
But science stopped in like 1862, so I don't know why you're bringing that up.
You might be surprised, but in fact, it did not. Science continues to this day.
Creationists think that biology stopped when Darwin published his book, so
yeah, they do.
There's been no new discoveries.
Well,
I don't know why you keep bringing this up.
That, as in many cases, young Earth creationists are wrong about that. I know, shocking, isn't it?
Shocked.
Yeah.
Shocking, yeah.
We'll play more David Reeves while you try to recover from the near heart attack that you must have just had at the shock that creationists might be wrong.
I'm devastated, honestly. I'm devastated. I don't know how I'm going to recover.
Well, You know, you can send a bill to my lawyer for all the therapy sessions you're going to need.
Is that the lawyer for dinosaur court, or
Yes.
is that the lawyer for human court?
Yeah, as a dinosaur, I'm under the jurisdiction of dinosaur court, so you're going to need to send it to my dinosaur court lawyer.
Okay,
Yep. He's a magpie.
excellent.
We
I
could-
know exactly what to bribe him with. Anything.
Anything shiny.
And peanuts.
I mean, that's how I pay him. I pay him in bits of foil and little treats like berries and peanuts.
Literally working for peanuts.
Mhm.
I love it.
We could repeat this experiment hundreds of times. We could repeat this experiment millions of times, and we would always get the same effect.
Yep, because it's not an adequate experiment. When people actually do real experiments mimicking actual conditions under the ground with actual rocks, like plastic deformation. Let's take another drink while I play again.
Hardened
Steve
layers
Areno
of strata do not simply smoothly
Areno.
bend, do they?
Okay,
So how-
let's pause it. Steve Areno says, blah, blah, blah.
No, Bob Loblaw is unfortunately a human. He's not qualified for
He's not
dinosaur
licensed for
court.
dinosaur court.
No, he's not licensed for dinosaur court.
Ah!
Yeah. No,
He
don't
needs
get me
to put a
wrong.
disclaimer on his law blog.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, I'm an avid reader of the Bob Loblaw law blog. It's great. Because he lobs his best law bombs on the Bob Loblaw law blog.
Indeed.
Okay. Now that we understand. I mean, some people are like, oh, Legal Eagle's pretty good. But, like, a Bob Loblaw law blog law bomb is pretty epic. I'm going to stop now before I start screwing it up.
How do you get what we see on the screen? There is one way. You bend it while it is still soft, pliable mud.
Wrong.
Who would have known? Except that's not the way rock bending works either, so...
Taking a drink. That would erase all the stratification, buddy. You can tell. Right? It's actually trivially easy if you're, you know, up on your geomorphology and whatnot. Average Cobra official per se for $5 says, if we can bribe your lawyer with shiny things, dinosaur court functions much like the U.S. Supreme Court. You know what? That's not a drink trigger, but we're gonna take a drink for it anyway.
I'm a drink for that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, chat's on fire today.
Whew.
Woo.
Goodness. All right.
Wow. Well, no, Mr. Serious, they don't discuss dinosaur law on Bob Loblaw's law blog because he's not licensed to practice in dinosaur court, so...
Exactly. Yep.
Now, how do you get that much soft, pliable mud? We're talking about hundreds of feet of strata. How does that...
You don't. That's the thing. You just don't, right? It's like I'm asking how to make, or it's like someone's asking me how to make like cheesecake. And I'm trying to tell them, and they're like, okay, but how do you get 500 pounds of concrete to make your cheesecake? I'm just like, you don't. That isn't part of the process.
Okay,
I don't know
also-
how else to put it. You just don't. God is a mudbender. This is Ross.
Nee says Legal Eagle and Lawhawk are both dinosaur court certified.
That's accurate. They are, yep.
They did pass the dinosaur court bar.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Although,
Yeah.
in dinosaur court, they had to wear big old bird masks to hide their horrific mammalian features. Like those weird sticky outy ears, or those gross muscular lips flapping all over the place.
So what you're telling me is that Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, was really about dinosaur court. It's a documentary.
Yes.
Excellent.
that happen? Perhaps when the fountains of the great deep broke open and the windows of heaven were open and tremendous amounts
I want you to tell me what the windows were, Dave, sorry, because you've ignored that before.
of mud, sand, silts, and sediments started stirring up and washing across the continents in tsunami-like waves, laying down layer after layer after layer after layer
Until the
of this
Earth turned into a plasma.
Right. And even ignoring the heat problem, there's this thing called tsunamite. You think you could guess what tsunamite is? It's a kind of rock.
Probably in the name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rock that's laid down by a tsunami. It's recognizable. It's not the easiest thing to recognize, but it's recognizable. Do you know what does not characterize the vast majority of the sedimentary record of the entire Earth. It's tsunamite. Yeah. Most of the rock is definitely not tsunamite. And it's a real thing. In fact, there's some tsunamite that's liquefying right now.
I should make the goose meme. What are the windows of heaven, Dave? What are the windows of heaven?
Just chasing them away. Yes.
Yeah.
It's how I feel. It's just like, where are the eyes, Randy? Where are the eyes?
Where are the eyes?
Man, this fish got a tan. Yeah, okay. It grew its eyes back because your contention requires that too. Yeah, if you guys haven't heard that previous episode.
These muddy sediments, which then, when the mountains started to form, were catastrophically buckled during the upheavals of the flood, and only after that did it turn to stone, did it lithify.
No, David, because if they were all churning and whirling around due to tsunamis, they wouldn't have stratified before they turned into hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
Also, I want to point something out. The tallest mountains currently known that are made of mostly sedimentary rock that is extensively bent, and like these bent formations are this little mountain chain. Pretty insignificant, you might not have heard of it. It's called the Himalayas. I know it's an obscure,
they're probably not that important. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, it's an obscure reference. They're in like the region of like northern India, Tibet, Nepal, that kind of area, like Central Asia. Yeah.
Sounds fake.
It does sound fake, but believe it or not, it is real. And here's the thing.
Joel Duff, hi Joel, says he dropped into Sal's live feed before realizing that the same feed was going on.
Hey, if you have any war stories from over there on Sal's live, let me know.
Joel, it's been 52 days.
Mm-hmm. I actually need to make a version of that clock that I can put on screen for my lives.
I mean, I can make one without text for you.
If you would, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
I just lost my train of thought. Oh, right, the Himalayas. Okay, so according to Dave Reeves' model, the Himalayas are building up under the water, and we're ignoring the heat problem for now, just to be nice, and building up to about where they were 4,400 years ago, when relatively normal rate geological processes start. So that requires approximately a meter per day of growth. You know what happens if you try to stack a bunch of mud up a meter a day into jagged peaks? It just falls down.
Yeah, it just... bleh.
Right? It just collapses.
That's the scientific term, by the way. It just... bleh.
Yeah. So, like, even on his own terms, this doesn't make sense. The only way you could get the Himalayas is if that sediment were lithified beforehand, because it just wouldn't hold itself up otherwise. It physically couldn't keep itself together.
Oh my gosh, wait. I know what happened, because he is just misunderstanding. Like, the Earth was hot enough to be a plasma, so all that rock was turned into, like, molten magma, and magma tends to cool off relatively quickly, so it was all soft and mushy, and you can pile up magma, and it just hardens into rock. That's why the entire Earth is made of the exact same type of volcanic rock.
Yep. Everything is rhyolite, basically.
Yes.
Oh, wait, hold on. It's not, though.
Oh.
In fact, there's a lot of other things, like granite and sedimentary rocks, and yeah. We almost had it, guys. We almost figured out how the flood worked.
It's the only way to get it. To which the atheist, the skeptic might say, David, no.
I love how it's the Christians and the atheists, and the Christians are all young Earth creationists, and everyone who isn't a young Earth creationist is an atheist.
So dumb.
It's such a weird binary to draw when it's so obviously not true.
No, what you don't understand is that if we were to thrust these layers down several miles below the surface of the Earth, well, the heat and the pressure would be so great that you could turn this solid, hard rock into a pliable material, which would then bend smoothly. To which
I will say, as demonstrated experimentally more than a century ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. David is talking about heat when you press rocks together, and I'm like, my man, it's right there. It's right there.
How about that heat problem, buddy?
How about that heat problem?
You got
So
a
close.
cool solution for that? Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but the most recent paper that I'm aware of from the Answers Research Journal dealing with the heat problem was like, well, we don't have a solution, but we found some reasons the problem is worse than we thought, which is just mwah, perfect.
Yeah.
Chef kiss.
Imagine posting that unironically.
They did. It's in a paper.
Uh,
And the paper also includes like the estimated value for the gravitational binding energy of the Earth, and it's like orders of magnitude less than the heat problem, which means that not only does the Earth turn into a ball of plasma, it also explodes.
Incredible.
It's like when I was saying that
Incredible.
Earth would become like a new sun. No, that's optimistic. It would actually explode and become a new nebula. A superheated nebula. Which I guess maybe that helps with like Walt Brown's lunar bukkake theory. Earth just explodes, and that's where all the impact craters come from. The entire Earth exploded.
Which I would answer,
Incredible.
yes, you are correct. But at that point, when it popped back up again, it would not be sedimentary anymore. It would be metamorphic or igneous.
It could be if the temperature's high enough, but it doesn't actually require temperature to be that high, and it's actually more dependent on the confining pressure. That's the big key, right? Heat helps. Heat increases the plasticity of the rock, but the confining pressure is the key thing. So, yeah, it absolutely can come back up as sedimentary rock if the heat wasn't high enough to metamorphose it. Same thing with the pressure. Yeah.
Would not look anything like this. This was clearly catastrophically laid down and bent while it was still pliable. In other words, all over the world in geology, what we see is that the Bible knows best. To which I get to my favorite example. This may be one of my favorite examples. This is Matthew Fontaine Maury. The story of his life goes something like this. You know, Matthew was in bed one day. He was
I should get epaulets.
You should. I love epaulets.
Yeah.
It's
Epaulets
like
are cool.
one guy woke up one day and went, you know what? I think I'm going to fancy up my shoulders.
Yeah. And you know what? Good on him. I don't think I've ever had them. I don't think I've ever owned a piece of a single garment that had epaulets.
Is that practical for your, like, dinosaur shape? Because, like, your shoulders are kind of, like, way down.
I mean,
Your
I
body there,
can
but-
adapt it. I mean, those are clearly not actually following the contours of his actual shoulders. He does not have big old wings like that. So, yeah.
extremely
Okay.
ill.
I mean,
And
your
his-
tie is just kind of free-floating, so why not epaulets?
Yeah, you know what? I can do all sorts of crazy stuff. There's no rules.
His daughter had a Bible. She comes in and she says, I'm just going to sit down here next to the bed and I'm going to read you some scripture, try to comfort you, try to make you feel better. So she opens up randomly to Psalm 8. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Whatsoever passeth through the paths of the sea, O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Now when she
I
got
can
to that
read
part,
random quotes from text, too.
Yeah, look, I don't know if this is a story that didn't happen, but it kind of sounds like one. But okay. Oh, and for $5, Strawberry Vein says, but how do you know that Earth isn't actually a nebula? I mean, you can't really walk on a nebula, so I think that's...
How
good
would you
evidence.
know?
Well,
You ever been to one?
Yes.
You've been to a nebula? That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, nebula is just Latin for cloud, and fog is just low clouds. I've been in fog, and I couldn't walk on it.
Well, maybe it's because you're a dinosaur.
Have you managed to walk on fog?
I've never tried.
Well, next time it's foggy, let me know how it goes.
Okay, I'll let you know. Also, I love what Edward Houghton says, epaulets, because you like bead curtains so much you want to wear them.
Yeah, basically.
on your shoulders.
Yes. All of this is correct. I disagree with none of this.
Matthew sat up in bed. As ill as he was, he sat up and he said, wait a second. Paths of the sea? Paths of the sea? He said, if I ever get out of this bed, I'm going to figure out what those paths of the sea are.
It's ocean currents.
Yeah, it's ocean currents, man.
I mean, it's very,
Why is
very
this so
obvious. I'm taking a drink for like, what could the paths of the sea in Psalm 8 be? And it's like, how do you come to any other conclusion than it's ocean currents?
This is so dumb.
Yeah, I'm taking a double drink for this one.
Honestly, I think this might be the mega stupid. I'm gonna put a key in because that was in fact mega stupid.
It really is. Okay.
Matthew, he got well, and he devoted his life's effort to charting the ocean currents and the paths of the sea, paths that ships still follow to this day. This is a global map right here, and what you see...
Okay, but dude...
Incredible!
People in the
How could the ancients have known about ocean currents?
People in the Iron Age knew that there were currents, man.
How could they have known? How could they have known without God
sailed.
telling them?
They sailed. I mean, okay, look.
The Phoenicians, notable for sailing. How could they have possibly known?
In fact, we'll just back it up to the Bronze Age. You see that really significant current that's coming down across like the northwest and then the whole western side of like the British Isles and like down into France and the Iberian Peninsula. Yeah, people knew about that because even in the Bronze Age, the British Isles were a significant source of this metal. You might have heard of it. It's called tin. And
tin.
What's a really
That's
big?
how we can make our metal less lumpy.
Yeah, like if you take copper and you smelt copper, that's okay. But what happens when you add a little bit of tin?
Better.
Yeah, you get this alloy called bronze. There was a whole age named after it.
Yeah.
People since the Bronze Age at the earliest, probably much earlier, because again, there were Stone Age dispersals of humans across things like, Polynesia. People, at least in the area of like the Levant, which is where this is probably written, have known about sea currents since at least the Bronze Age. Long before Psalm 8, which at the earliest is an Iron Age psalm. And it's probably more like, a early antiquity psalm, because most of the Hebrew scriptures are actually from like early antiquity. So, yeah. Shockingly enough, most of the Bible was written significantly after it's set. Just in case you guys didn't know.
See, the green lines and the orange lines, those are those paths of the sea. Paths that were just waiting to be discovered until one man got brave enough to say, I'm going to take the Bible at its word, I'm going to believe that it says what it means and it means what it says, and I'm going to go out there and discover what it's talking about.
Yes, until this one guy, no one had ever used ocean currents before. Never. Never once.
When was this guy alive, by the way?
That's a great question. We're at 5824. Keep that in mind. I'm going to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Let's see here. The 19th century. He was alive for most of the 19th century.
After the New World had been discovered, right?
Yeah, long after. Oh,
and that's after, like, the Tonga, Polynesian dispersal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this rando white dude's actually, like, one of the last people to show up to that party? Huh, okay.
So here's what I will say, right? There is a fair chance that, at the time, not every ocean current had been well mapped out, and that he was a big contributor to that effort. And I'll even say that maybe Psalm 8 inspired him to do it. But the idea that ocean currents were talked about in Psalm 8 is in no way like some kind of special knowledge that the authors couldn't have known unless it was divine revelation, which is the only point here, right?
So silly. Yeah.
If you want to point out, oh, hey, some text got something right, isn't that impressive? It's only impressive if there's reason to think they wouldn't have gotten it right. Now, Gwen Brown has just joined the channel as a tetrapod. Guys, send tetrapod emojis or
Tunicate,
sessile.
pelagic
Yes, no, sessile.
ones.
Sessile.
Pelagic,
Sessile.
tunicate.
Gotta get those benthic tunicates in. Oh, you guys are doing it wrong. Oh,
They swim all over the place. They're swimming around in your brain.
Yeah, by expelling water out of their anus.
I mean, that you got to move around somehow.
Yeah, you could move around like
Efficient way to do
a
it.
normal animal.
I mean,
You guys are.
what about cephalopods?
They use a specialized
also-
organ that is not their anus.
I mean, I'm just saying. You're going to get around, that's an efficient way to do it.
Plus, they also sometimes swim with fins or walk with arms.
Okay.
Oh.
Discovered
Tunicates
until
aren't
one man got
cephalopods. Gasp.
Right, they're not cephalopods. It'd be
Gasp.
cool if the pelagic tunicates could stop being there and then they could be replaced by cephalopods. That'd be better.
You know what? That's pelagic tunicatist.
Yeah, you're right. I've never denied that I was a pelagic tunicatist.
brave enough to say, I'm going to take the Bible at its word, I'm going to believe that it says what it means and it means what it says, and I'm going to go out there and discover what it's talking about.
Something that everyone already knew existed. Okay. I'm sure that took a lot of bravery. I'm sure every time this guy went to anyone who was like, hey man, I'll bet you don't know about currents. I'm going to map them. And everyone was like, what? What's a current?
What?
How does that work?
Coyote says AIG can talk out of their ass. Why not move around that way?
Okay, AIG can be the sole remaining colony of salps floating around in the ocean after the cephalopods take over.
About time for a break, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually is. We'll take a quick break here. We will be back in just a few minutes after I figure out where the heck my OBS window is. Found it. All right, guys, we will be back in a few. Please feel free to enjoy the musical stylings of Beethoven and stick around because we got almost another hour coming at you. And yeah, we will be back in just a bit. And we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with me. Those of you who did, which is almost everyone, I think about 4 people we lost. That's okay, though. Maybe they'll wander back in. Before we get going, I just want to say a few quick things. One is that this channel is almost entirely supported by the viewers. I was actually looking the other day at my analytics, and after you put together like Patreon and channel memberships and super chats and super stickers and super thanks and all that stuff, the actual revenue that I get from ads that play on my videos is, I think it's like a seventh or something of what the channel brings in. And this channel is something that is supporting itself. And it has been for basically the entirety of this year and parts of last year. And that is a relatively new thing for the channel. The channel was running at a loss for a very long time. And I was worried that I would have to step back and, you know, not keep the channel going, at least at the level it was. But you guys stepped up in the last year or so, and I really appreciate that. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel has given a membership to My Unfinished Journey, so we'll take a quick drink for that. I also know that there is a super chat from Pelagic Tunicate. We will be getting that into that in just a second. So if this channel is something you enjoy, you want to see it keep going, what I recommend is you can join the channel right below. Starts at $1.99 a month. Get all the emojis, get access to, I think, about 5 months worth of early access stuff, I believe. I'd have to actually add up how many videos and whatnot, but yeah, about 5 months. You can get your name in the credits at the $5 level or above, or there's also the Patreon. The Patreon, I get a little higher percentage than I do from the memberships. There's also a 12% discount if you go annual. And again, you gain access to all the early access stuff, about 5 months worth of stuff that you can just take a look at. You can get your name in the credits. There's even better stuff at higher tiers. Have me read out your name every video. But that's only if you can afford it and you want to help out. If you can't afford it, please don't. And also, if a monthly or annual thing isn't your deal, then there's also a merch store and there's an Amazon wish list. By the way, my birthday is coming up. So, but also, like, there's 1,300 pounds of rice on there. I don't really need that at this moment. Is the reason it's set to lowest priority, so please don't get me half a ton of rice. Yeah. It's there in case someone every once in a while wants to get me a bag of rice because it's, staple diet thing, and I like not having to shop for rice. All right, so we'll read a few more things.
I would have taken it off now that you don't need it.
I put it to lowest priority and said I don't need any of this right now. And then when I do...
But I mean, it's still on there. Somebody could still buy it.
You know what? Worst case scenario, I can donate a literal ton of rice to a shelter or a food bank or something. So, if you do buy me 1,000 pounds of rice, I'll do something with it that isn't just wasting it. Okay, so Cyberscope official, per se... can't forget the per se, has purchased 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Al Trucker, Alex Markle, James Duncan, Cross-Platform Adventures, there we go, and Ember. So we'll take 5 drinks, and then we will read the Pelagic Tunicate super chat. Here we go. 1. 2. 3. 4. And 5. Trying to be careful because this is wine and it's a lot stronger than I'm normally drinking on these.
Yeah.
I'm taking smaller sips.
A lot of sugar.
Oh, yeah. So Pelagic Tunicate Truth Official for €2 said Pelagic Tunicate greater than Sessile Tunicate, and that's a fact. It's a weird thing to say.
I agree.
Because it's not a fact. At best, it's an opinion, and it's an objectively wrong opinion.
No, it's just that you don't like alternative facts.
Yeah, I like real facts.
That's just alternative.
Shh. There may be some of you in this audience right now, especially the young ones. You're looking at all of this and you're saying, what am I supposed to do with my life? What am I supposed to do with my life?
Probably not.
Go out and map ocean currents.
They're probably not that. I think that's mostly covered. But I mean, maybe it's not. I'm not an expert at oceanic navigation. That's not what I did in the Navy. So maybe it's not fully covered. Maybe there is a lot of room for that. I don't know. If you did navigation at sea, let me know. How well known are the oceanic currents? There's still a lot of work to be done mapping them.
Maybe you want to go into some type of science. Maybe you already are studying some field of science or biology or geology.
You better hope not, because it's pretty hard to find one that does not flatly contradict his ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I'm going to encourage you, be a Matthew Fontaine Maury. Take what the Bible says as truth and go out there and
No, that is not how science works.
It's really not. And here's the thing, right? I've said this in one of the early access videos. Look, if you're inspired to do research because you read something in the Bible, that's fine. That's great. I don't care what inspiration you have for doing your research. But you'll notice what Matthew Fontaine did wasn't, at least apparently, wander around the ocean with his Bible open, hoping to use the text of the Bible to find currents. He went and did this actual thing called, like taking measurements and using, taking notes and doing this science thing, right? You want to say, the reason that Isaac Newton did all of his physics stuff is because he was inspired by the God of the Bible to want to seek out how the universe works and to think God's thoughts after him. Cool, that's great. Perfectly fine motivation as far as I'm concerned. But when he then went out and gathered measurements and wrote down his laws, he didn't say, I'm writing this down because over in 2 Samuel 12:32 it says this. He had actual experiments, and he didn't need to reference the Bible. On the other hand, if you do what, say, Zion Oil and Gas did, which is use the actual literal text of the Bible to try and go find oil deposits in Israel, you want to know how that turned out? They filed for bankruptcy. That's how that turned out.
What's great about legitimate science and actual facts about reality is that anybody can do them at any time and get the same results.
Theist, atheist, agnostic, Christian, Jew, Muslim,
dinosaur,
Baha'i, dinosaur, yeah.
Yeah.
Even the Mandaeans can do science.
That's right.
Which, side note, if you ever say Abrahamic religions and you can't name at least 5 off the top of your head, I'm not going to take you very seriously.
Without Google.
Yeah, that's why I said off the top of your head. Can't name 5? Get out of here. Anyway.
Yeah.
I know, that's super gatekeepy, but on the other hand,
I don't care.
often use the word Abrahamic religion and they just mean Christianity, which is, they just don't want to say it.
And they sometimes mean Islam and Judaism, but then they forget about all the other ones, and I'm just that's why I made that meme the other day.
Mm-hmm. All right, Benthic Tunicate, B2022, also gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Those went to Mira DeFalco, James Duncan, Morgan Poria, and Olivia Kaufman. I think that's all. Oh, and also Bob Knob. I didn't notice Bob Knob because his name wasn't green. It's blue because he's got a wrench. All right. Well, thank you very much. Let's take 5 more drinks. I'm going to have to pour more of this. Oh, bubbly that just had part of the label slide and come off in my hand, meaning that I almost dropped it, shattering it all over the floor, which would have been bad. So give me a second while I readjust. That was a bit of a scare. That would have... I do not want to have to clean up most of a bottle of sparkling wine from my floor and desk right now. Okay.
That's my favorite thing.
I think my heart stopped for just a little bit there. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
While you're drinking,
and 5.
One of my favorite memes this week that I saw was some guy inventing celery. Damn, I wish I could bite water with hair in it.
Yeah. All right, April Van Ryn, who's been a member for 3 months, is at the Amulet level, says, where does one get a dinosaur hat like that at Vishanti? With a Godzilla emoji, which we will drink for, but then also way too many.
You know what? I will go search where I got this, and I'll put the link in the chat, because I'm pretty sure that I got... Okay. Carry on. I'll find the link.
Okay.
Discover remarkable things. Guess what? In Virginia, there's a monument erected in Matthew Fontaine Maury's honor. It says, to Matthew Fontaine Maury, the pathfinder of the seas, the genius who first snatched from the oceans and the atmosphere the secret of their laws, his inspiration, Holy Writ. That's what that monument says.
Yeah.
What's your
You know
point?
what it's actually saying?
Yeah. The entire point is he's trying to say that having the Bible, as your motive, because that's what he's doing. He's pointing out this guy had the Bible as a motive. Then he's trying to conflate that with using the Bible as an actual guide to your research, and then saying that because this guy, inspired by the Bible, discovered cool stuff, therefore you should use the actual text of the Bible as your guide to doing science, which is a whole bunch of no.
I got news for you, folks. If you want to use the Bible to do science, you should maybe not expose yourself to like leprosy or household mold.
Don't do that. Yeah. I mean,
Just a thought.
to be fair, the Bible is pretty good when it comes to, hey, household mold and leprosy are bad.
Yeah, but their treatment methods are sus.
Yeah, a little sus. Should less priestly intervention and more like, actual evidence based. Oh, hello, dog. Thank you for bumping into me. Dog here. All right.
Go.
Yeah, he wants me to play with his rope. He wants to play tug of war with the rope, but I don't really have that option right now. Method Tunicate B2022 sends all three of the kaiju emojis, although they didn't quite come through. Says, noticing a lack of Rodan, this makes me sad. I mean, look, Rodan is really cool, but when it comes to new emojis, I feel like a fourth kaiju emoji is probably not going to be the most used thing that we get. So I would love it to have a Rodan emoji, but it's like hard for me to justify making any of the emojis currently used Rodan on that basis. But I do appreciate the super chat. Oh, that was for £5. Did I say £5? I think I said $5. But we'll take a drink for it either way. Okay, here we go.
The Bible knows best. We've only got a few minutes left.
Not for those things, it does
the
not.
Bible is doing pretty good when it stacks up to the good science test, I think.
Is it?
No.
Basically,
No.
there's two kinds of quote-unquote good science in the Bible. There's stuff that people in the Iron Age were right about, and that the Bible was also therefore right about. And then there's stuff that they're wrong about that the Bible mentions, and it also is wrong about. Which, like, okay. Rusty Longshanks for $2 says, personally, I'd like to see more Megalon. Look, man, I can't put in every kaiju as an emoji. We get rid of all the other emojis, right? Because then someone else is going to be like, well, what about Gigan? And someone else will come in and be like, oh, I want the Gargantua. And I'm like, okay.
Make your own.
What about Skelly Turtle? Yeah, Skelly Turtle's great. He's not going to be an emoji. Sorry.
I really do kind of want a Rodan emoji, though. I'm just saying.
What about Hedera?
Just saying.
There's already a stock Ebera emoji.
Okay, I went Googling to see if there were Ceratosaurus hats or foam heads or latex heads. And one of the first results that came up on Google image search for Ceratosaurus hat was the Dapper Dinosaur fan art.
Nice.
Where you're going, birds are dinosaurs!
Oh, man, that's so awesome. That's great. I'm so flattered. Goodness. Okay, Savage Grover official per se says, what shape is the Earth in Genesis, David? Yeah, he's not going to get into that too much. Which, by the way, I think we're only $4 away from having feeders next time that Vishanti and I appear together.
Sweet!
I could replace the pelagic tunicate with Megalon. Tempting, but
No.
I would replace it with Gigan, because if I'm being honest, I prefer Gigan to Megalon. There's just something about the design with like the hook hands and the circular saw embedded in the chest. It's so ridiculous. I love it.
Yes!
And it just flies around. And also, its call is just a pitch-shifted Ghidorah call. That's literally all it is.
Incredible.
Oh, I love Gigan. I also really like Gigan in Final Wars. Because, like, he gets, like, an alternate mode where he's got, like, the twin chainsaw hands and whatnot. And he can shoot out, like, little saw blades. But then, like, Godzilla just dodges some twin saw blades and comes around and it chops his head off.
Chainsaw Hands, that has Big Mandy energy.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Man, look, I'm not going to say that Godzilla Final Wars was a good movie, because it was absurd and ridiculous and all the acting is terrible. However...
But being
ooh,
fun
yeah, it's
does
so
not
much fun.
preclude it. Yeah.
It is one of the most fun of all the Godzilla movies. All right, here we go. Plus, it's got a Captain Mustache.
I mean, I'm pretty impressed with it. Could the same thing be said for evolutionary theories?
My Infinite Journey for $2 says, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a kit. True.
Ah,
And it's...
I love it.
Yeah. And now I'm thinking of like a little baby weasel.
I think it's worth a consideration, right? Merriam-Webster defines religion as a cause, a principle, or a system of beliefs held to with ardor and faith, extreme fervor and faith. You know what? I'm just going to have to say this.
I think my Discord froze. That's... Oh, yep. Discord just dropped. I will try to get Vishanti back as much as possible. I don't know why this happened. I don't think I've ever had a Discord problem like this before. Let's try to start Discord back up. Sorry about that. Yeah.
What just happened?
So I don't exactly know. Discord seems to have crashed, but now you're back. Sorry about that.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, let me share my screen. Give me a second.
You guys got to see me do my apology impression.
It's pretty good, too. Let's see. Nee, for $2, says, shift to Power Rangers emojis. I nominate iGuy. Ooh. I do like iGuy. Let's see. iGuy would be a good one. Minotaur would probably be a good one. Although I might use like the new Minotaur from Once and Always. But also like there's some good stuff outside of Mighty Morphin, right? Want to use one of those. A Logic Tunicate Truth Official for €5 says, what are best tetrapods? Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, or Michelangelo? I mean, I'm a Donatello guy, but you know, you can have a different opinion. I won't argue with you.
Leonardo.
Leonardo? Okay.
That's forever. I'm a Leonardo person.
That's fair. And hey, we hit the feeders number, so you
Sweet.
now owe us feeders.
Sweet.
Atheists believe a lot of things.
Yeah, most atheists do
I mean,
believe
that's
a lot
true.
of things. We'll take a drink. Such a weird thing to say. Everyone believes lots of things. I believe.
I know, right?
I have some booze in this glass. I believe I'm sitting here.
Captain Obvious.
Do you mean believe on faith? Because that's what it sounds like.
Because yeah, that's definitely not something that's true.
Yeah, those aren't all true. Shredder? Hey, I actually have to read the next Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover, because there's a sequel crossover. And apparently, and I don't know this because I haven't read, but I've just seen some like preview stuff. But it looks like the Rangers get exposed to some ooze and they turn into like mutant versions of the animals that their Zords are based on. So there's like, you know, the Red Ranger looks like a humanoid Tyrannosaurus, but in the color scheme of his costume. So it's got like the white diamonds on the chest and whatnot. Which, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading those comics.
Atheists believe that the universe started about 14 billion years ago in some magical thing called the...
No.
Many atheists might believe something akin to that. But atheism is not a statement about the origin of the universe, or a statement about evolution, or a statement about ethics, or anything other than a statement about, or a belief about, the existence of gods.
That's it.
That's it. It's not even about the supernatural. You can be a supernaturalist atheist. If you think there are ghosts, you can be an atheist. If you think that there are underpants gnomes stealing your underpants for profit, you can be an atheist. Here's what this is. Check the actual philosophical literature on atheism, you know, the peer-reviewed stuff, the stuff that philosophers look at, because this is a topic of. Atheism is about philosophy. And you will find very, very confidently widespread among all the experts in philosophy of religion, which is what that's about, that atheism is the belief that there are no gods. That's it.
Actually, atheism is the rejection of the claim that there is a god or gods. It's not making a positive claim about God's existence, it's just saying they don't believe it.
Actually, that would be
convinced.
agnosticism in the actual philosophical literature.
That just says you don't know.
Again, according to the actual peer-reviewed literature on philosophy of science, agnosticism is the lack of belief in the existence.
I'm not a
or-
prescriptivist. I'm just going off how atheists define themselves.
Well, it is true that there is the word atheism is polysemous. However, when I'm discussing philosophy, which is what this is about, I like to use the terms as the philosophers use them, and also as they're most useful in terms of actual communication. And in both cases, the most useful use of those three words is that theism is the belief that there exists at least one God. Atheism is the belief that there are no gods. And agnosticism is the lack of either belief.
I will not split hairs with you.
But Dr. Tapioca Weasel is on my side, so I got the weasel.
An argument from Weasel,
Yeah.
I call a fallacy.
No, that's actually one of the instances in which it is a surefire way to know that you're right. Unless the weasel disagrees with me.
Weasel tautology.
Yeah. It's a virtuous tautology. We're going to hit play.
Big Bang. They believe that wholeheartedly. You know, atheists also believe that stars coalesced from dust clouds and gas clouds over.
Again, some atheists may believe that, but that's not part of atheism. We're just going to take a note. If you're talking about anything other than whether or not there's gods, then you're not talking about atheism. That's the thing. Atheists don't have to believe in the standard scientific model of stellar formation. Now, a lot of them do. Some might not. A lot of them probably do, but...
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I just screwed that up royally. Oh, what did I just do?
Oh, man.
I know, I did. Try to get back to where I was.
Around the US and around the world.
Is in agreement with me. Argumentum ad mustilid.
Yeah, that's...
And I 100% agree with you, April Van Wren.
No, argumentum ad mustilid is... It's one of the most valid forms of argument.
Maybe not this one, but most. Way over 50%. And you try to question one of those faith-based beliefs, you say, Professor...
We're roughly back to where we were. I think we skipped a couple minutes.
My goodness gracious.
You know, how can you back that?
He's just being dumb.
Well, at least this time he said faith-based beliefs, and he's removed it from just being a bare belief, as if that it's a belief is a problem.
The reason I'm nitpicking him so hard is because they want to say, well, it's a belief, therefore it's a religion, and it's not.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's exactly where he's going with this, and I don't have the patience for people who argue in bad faith like that.
Yeah, there's a few problems. One, religion is not necessarily a belief, or even set of beliefs. Two, beliefs are not necessarily religious, although some of them can be.
Mm-hmm.
And three, everyone has beliefs. Everyone. If anyone ever tells you that they don't have beliefs, they don't know what the word belief means. What a belief is very simply, is a thing you think is true. Whether you have good reasons for that or not. So,
or bad reasons, yeah.
Yeah, bad reasons, good reasons. As long as you think it's actually true, then it's a belief. Benthic Tunicate B2022 says, AIG is a pack of pointy pink pogo sticks, and we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much.
Nice. But yeah, let's hear David do the thing anyway, I suppose.
Yeah.
Up. Oh, you're going to be met with extreme fervor and ardor.
Look, fervor is an appropriate response when you have good reasons to believe the things that you do, and someone comes to you with the inanity that you come with, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's also fervor in, like, no, flat earthers, you're dumb. It's the same thing. There's excellent reasons to think that the Earth is a globe. Anyone who doesn't believe the Earth is a globe is doing so for extremely bad reasons.
Correct.
So an appropriate... Now, look, you can say why you shouldn't get worked up about it. Okay, fine. But it's a perfectly reasonable response to something that dumb. Same thing is true for young Earth creation. Also, Savage Cobra official per se says, there are 4 lights behind him. I mean, I'm counting
Yes.
more than 4, but okay.
I count 4. No, I see 4. They're definitely, look where his right hand is.
I see 3. I see 3 on one side and 5 on the other. What am I
You
missing?
don't know how to count, man. There are 4 lights.
This must be some kind of a Cardassian mind trick. That's all I can come to.
Nonsense.
All right, I'm going to activate the pain box.
Beliefs are held to with extreme ardor. What does that make evolution?
Something that people have good reason to believe, and therefore will strongly argue for, when idiots try to deny it for really bad reasons.
A very well-supported scientific theory.
Yes, it makes it that too. Like, the only thing I can see from this is that his argument is that things that you are passionate about, that are also corresponding to beliefs that you hold, are religious. But that doesn't follow at all, right? Like, how many people are ardent that their favorite sports ball team is the best sports ball team? I don't think
Right.
that makes it their religion.
I don't know. In the state of Alabama, it does.
Okay, in some cases it might make it their religion, but it's not universally the case. Strawberry Vein for $5 says, Creationist mocking things by calling them faith-based magic kills a sizable chunk of my brain cells every time. Yeah, it is a weird stance to take when, like, that's everything you're doing. Now, I get what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to say, okay, look, we can't deny that our beliefs are not based on evidence, and they are in fact simply based on faith, and essentially nothing else. But, since we can't deny that, if we can trick everyone into thinking that that's what science is too, then we can bring science down to our level, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just a competing religion.
Yeah, just your opinion, bro.
Yeah. Which also, by the way, is an extremely, like, Christian-centric way to view other religions, as if they're competing. Religions don't have to be in competition.
Wow, you're telling me that a Christian only thinks the way that, religions work is the way that Christianity works? I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked, I tell you.
It's actually
Yeah, that's
a pretty big problem in, like, religious studies programs and, like, scholarship, is that, like, it takes a lot of work to make the field as a whole try to get away from defining religions in terms that are based on Christianity, as if Christianity is the default of a religion, which it's not.
It's one of the, if not the biggest bone I have to pick with atheists who used to be Christians or that lived in Christian cultures. They think all religions work the exact same as Christianity, and my friend, that is extremely not true.
Yeah, most actually work very little like Christianity, and there's a sliding scale. Like, in some ways, Islam kind of works like Christianity in some ways, but in some other ways it doesn't. And then you get farther and farther afield, and you get stuff like the Druze don't work anything like Christianity. Not even a little bit.
They don't even accept, they don't even accept converts, so...
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're even less like Christianity than Judaism is, which is already not very much like Christianity.
Right.
Let's see. Bentley Tunicate B2022 says, AIG are quasi-Cardassian totalitarians. I'll take a drink for it.
That's actually pretty good.
They would be if we let them. If Ken Ham had his way, he would just disband what's the name of the council that the Cardassians had? It started with like a D and there's like a P in there or something, like the Datapa Council. That's it.
Yeah.
The Datapa Council. Yeah, he would totally disband the Datapa Council and take back over military rule. But instead of being for, like, the glory of the Cardassian nation, it would be, like, to stop abortions and get rid of the gays. Although, to be fair, I guess I don't know if the Cardassians were also big on doing those things. They could have been.
I agree with Dr. Fearmonger Official, who says, as an atheist, I think the Sikhs are pretty cool. I agree, and if you're ever in need of food in a place where you can't get food, find the Sikhs. Yeah. They will always feed you.
Sikh temples are... One of the things that it takes to be a Sikh temple, basically, is to have a food kitchen for people to just have food from.
Yep.
Like, you don't have a kitchen, you don't have a Sikh temple. Yep.
Mm.
In fact, one of the biggest places that just gives out free food is the Golden Temple in India, which is like
The Golden Temple, yeah.
yes, like
There is like an insanely long waiting queue for people to serve the food
Mhm.
because it's such a like meritorious thing for you to serve people who are in need.
Yep.
That there's just like insanely long waits for people to work there and volunteer their time.
Mhm.
That's how you do it.
Yep. Although I will say, I have also volunteered at numerous soup kitchens run by churches that did not also have like you have to listen to the preaching. They were just giving out soup to people, and that was it. And you know what? Props on that. It's one of the reasons I was helping out, because I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help cook some soup and then just hand it to people. Sounds great.
You said it, I didn't.
Rocket the Lighter is saying that was a very America-centric take. I don't know what you're talking about. We went on like 8 tangents.
Yeah.
In Europe, this is not true. We will constantly walk between the remnants of what was before Christianity.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, there are lots of
Europe with all
ruins.
those vacant cathedrals and, all of North America with its, indigenous population still being relegated to reservations. Yeah.
They're not all
Yeah, you're
relegated to
definitely the one on
reservations.
Okay.
Well, I know plenty of Native American people who don't live on reservations.
I didn't say all of them did, but it's a whole thing.
It is a whole.
But I just have to laugh because Europe is, pretty secularized, which is, I think, a great trend. But you're not constantly walking through what was before Christianity because that happened like,
I mean, look,
almost 2 millennia
there are
before. I'm just like,
there are plenty of Roman ruins that are pre-Christian in Europe, but
yeah.
I will also say that the idea that the academic fields that came out of Europe were not heavily influenced by a sort of Christianity is the default idea it's just not true that they didn't have that assumption. They really did. Now, granted, in the last century or so, there's been a conscious effort in many areas to stop doing that, and that has taken place in many places, including Europe. So it is much less the case now in academia that there's this idea that Christianity is just the default. But it's a historical.
Rocket the Lighter aware that the Americas have burial mounds also, and that they're also old?
I don't know. But it is true that there are
Just curious.
burial mounds in the Americas that date back many thousands of years.
Also, the Mississippian whole civilization thing is extremely cool. Highly recommend reading about it.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you want to argue that currently Europe is removing itself from the idea that Christianity is the default, I will agree.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But to argue that that has never been the case, or it has not been the case historically, or that it has not influenced scholarship around Western civilization, I don't think you could reasonably make that argument. And I don't think that the existence of pre-Christian ruins in any way argues one way or the other, whether or not there's this like default Christianity bias in a lot of scholarship around things like history and religion.
Yeah, I will just say, though, that my whole thing about Christian societies, it doesn't mean that evangelical Baptists are in charge. It means that your culture is heavily structured around the influence of Christianity. And my friend Europe is still very much that way. Like, I'm going to pick a random country out of the air. To be the Spanish monarch, you have to be a Catholic.
That wasn't random.
So, I'm just saying...
Okay, I'm just saying...
To be a British monarch, you cannot be a Catholic.
Yeah, in fact, you specifically have to be at least officially Anglican.
You have to be at least officially Anglican. And the current Queen of Spain, because she wasn't married in, like, the Catholic Church, her previous marriage wasn't really a big deal when she married the current king, so... It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, they aren't completely out of all of these systems, so it's...
No, like I said...
And in that direction, though.
It's definitely headed that way, and it's also... There's been a conscious effort for a very long time in academia to move away, but yeah, we'll hit play.
I just want to remind you of a couple of things.
Doing some good...
Again, the blue cards on the back table with my book make sure you drop one of those in the little cardboard box next to it, and I'll make sure you get the free email updates and the free Creation Club magazine every other month. And now, we've talked about the origin of science. We've talked about the origin of time, space, and
paragons of scientific research.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure those magazines just really informative.
matter. Arctic turn, blood is life, pass to the sea, break the pot. Earth hangs on nothing, behemoth and leviathan are real creatures. Geology confirms a global flood.
I'll take a drink for...
Hangs on nothing, y'all. Come on.
Oh, I'm taking a drink for this list.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Woo.
Today we've talked about a lot of different things,
nothing.
haven't we? But I always like to conclude with astronomy. It's one of my greatest passions. And for that, I actually...
And here's the thing, man. You're actually pretty good at astrophotography.
Yeah.
Stick with that. Make that your big thing.
Stick
And
with
you know
that,
what?
yeah.
I don't even care if you're like, look at the beauty of God's universe. Fine. Great. Publish your astrophotography.
He still takes good pictures.
Yep. And you know what?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of great Christian art throughout the ages. A lot of really great Christian art. In fact, some of my favorite art pieces are explicitly Christian, not just made by Christians, but are depicting scenes from Christian history or the Bible, made by Christians to be used in Christian ritual spaces. It's great stuff in there. Just do some
The
of that.
chat is very much correct. They're like, holy gish gallop, Batman.
Seriously, yeah.
Like, this just was like, da-da-da-da-da.
But David, you could just do that, right? Just make Christian art via astrophotography.
Yeah. He's really good at it.
He is.
honestly.
He really is. I mean, look at the setup he's got. That is no joke
I mean,
of a telescope.
that costs a lot of money.
That is
like,
whew.
not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some skill at this, man. You could just do that.
I've got a couple of slides to show you, but then I'm going to need the help from a couple of volunteers. Can I have you? Yes, please. Anyone else? Several more volunteers. Can I have a couple more volunteers?
Show up and show cool space
I
pictures.
need everybody's help.
That would be
Come
cool.
on over here. Take a handful and
Don
start passing
Giovanni is
these
saying,
out.
does he see things in
These
space that are
miniature
greater than
telescopes that are-
6,000 light years away?
You know, I'm pretty sure he does. Pretty sure. But you know what? I don't even care. Just make some art and say, and by art I mean like astrophotography, and then put somewhere like, look how awesome God's universe is, and I won't have a problem with that because you know what? You want to believe that
like,
God created the universe as a
cool
general
photos.
thing? Yeah, great. That's fine by me. I am not here to make atheists or to get people to convert to or from any particular religion. Your religion.
Anyone can appreciate space whether or not they believe that an agent outside of space and time caused it or not.
Yep. And here's the thing, right? If your religion is not currently making you deny science or treat other people horribly, I don't care about your religion then. It's fine for you to have it or not. Go do what you want. The only time I'm going to have a
Take
problem...
some cool space pictures. That would be really cool.
The only time I'm going to have a problem is if it's doing one of those things. And that's also true for your lack of religion. If you're using your lack of religion as an excuse to treat other people poorly, which definitely happens, I see it all the time, also
Don't
not
be a
okay.
dick.
I would much rather you get a religion and then stop treating people that way than that you not have one and do.
Oh, wow.
Because-
Edward Houghton is, this is a good point. He says, Creflo Dollar buys jets, David Reeves buys a giant telescope. Do either of them deserve their things? Did they buy them with their own money? The answer may surprise you. It's no.
So I actually don't know how David Reeves is getting the money for his stuff, because he certainly is not getting as much in donations as Ken Ham. But also, you know what? If people wanted to give him money for him to do astrophotography for the Lord, that's fine by me. I mean, they're going to get what they're paying for, right? They'd be getting astrophotography that has like Jesus-y messages, which that's fine.
Don't care, but look at that telescope, though. Look at how good his astrophotography is. It's legitimately cool.
Yeah. Or we're going to hit play.
I'm having you pass out right now are going to be very important. And
I feel like we should be seeing what's happening on stage, but we're not.
in only
Yeah,
a
really.
few moments'
That'd be nice.
time, all right? So you're doing a very important job right here. Make sure you take one for yourself. And we probably won't have time to get everyone one, and I know you're jealous if you don't get a miniature
passing things
telescope.
out?
Now, you may be
Oh.
looking right now, and you're like, David, actually, that looks a lot like a coffee stir. No, it's not. That is a miniature telescope.
Wait, he's just handing out
It's a
coffee
coffee stir.
stirrers? What is the point of this? This is so lame.
Yeah.
All right, so again, I told you a few moments ago how astrophotography, the study of astronomy, astrophysics, cosmology, cosmogony, and astrophotography in particular were some of my passions at an early age. How I started taking photos of the Great Orion Nebula.
Awesome photos! I'm gonna take a drink for how cool
Yeah,
those
it would
photos
be-
are. Dude,
Yeah, those
keep that up.
that looks so good. Space is cool.
Goodness.
Space looks cool.
It really is. It does. It's
How I started taking photos of all of these other nebula, planets, galaxies, everything that's out there.
That's a really cool picture of a solar eclipse with a long enough exposure you can see the Earth shine on the moon. Come on, dude. Do more of this. Do less of what you're doing now.
Right. Dude, that eclipse photo is freaking good. as
I know.
cool.
It's so awesome.
That's cool as hell. Like,
Look, I am never going to say that David Reeves has no skill or talent for astrophotography. He's great at it as far as I can tell. I just wish that was what he stuck with.
honestly, if he sells that particular eclipse photo as a print, I would buy it.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know if he has a website. If he does, I hope he sells these things as prints because... Oh, I'm drinking for Godzilla.
'Cause, yeah,
I mean, he's doing great astrophotography. I just wish he would stick with it instead of doing all this nonsense.
And I realized that there was a lot that we can learn just from the cosmos itself, but not
it
by
would be
worshiping
great if you actually
the
learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
cosmos.
the
Yeah, I get invited
the
on
same.
television programs and radio interviews a lot, and they're like, now we have David Reeves, the astrology expert, and I'm like, wait.
Okay, that's... He's not an astronomy expert either, but he's definitely not an astrology expert. So you know what? Fair enough to take... Fair enough for him to take some umbrage with that. That's yeah.
Yeah, really.
Astrology is the belief that you can divine your future from the stars.
I mean, that's part of it. It's
I mean,
more
it's
than
part
that.
of it. It's not all of it.
The planets and their motions. Astronomy is actually looking at and studying the heavenly bodies. And we can learn a whole lot by looking.
Theoretically, learning.
Yeah, it would be nice if he learned about it. But you know what? Like I said, if all he's going to do is take pretty pictures of it, I'd be okay with that too.
Looking at and studying the heavenly bodies. All right, so here's what I want to do as we conclude. I want to look at the number of stars in our universe. And this is our a Bible knows best moment at its finest, right? Because there is a passage in Genesis 15 that says, "Look now toward heaven and tell the stars if you're able to number them."
Okay, that heavily implies that you can't. But the fact that you just put a number in here, David, makes me think that you can and are therefore contradicting the whole point of the passage. But hey, maybe that's just me.
Did you know that we've actually tried to...
David Reeves is selling a print on his website, and it's it says beautiful color photo poster of a nebula in space using the ministry's powerful observatory class telescopes. But it doesn't even have a thumbnail of which photo it is.
Does it tell you which nebula it is at least?
No, it just says a nebula.
Oh, David, look, I know you're never going to watch this, right? But I hope you do. And I hope you get to this point, which you probably also won't. But, my guy, let me help you out, man. You've got some great stuff.
I mean,
You could make excellent prints and make good money doing some, like, honest work, just taking astrophotography pictures, making prints, and selling them as posters, or putting them on, like, I don't know, posters or shirts or something, right? Dude, you could be doing
Yeah, I
so
mean,
much better
he-
than this grift.
literally could not even bother putting up a thumbnail or a preview of what
This is
nebula or
so
photo is.
disappointing, man.
That's just poor. Yeah.
It's It's more disappointing in many ways than it is with a lot of these other creationists. Because, like, you look at Matt Powell. It's like, this is a man of no talent, no skill, anything other than grift. That's all he's got is grift. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get why he's doing the grift. But when I look at David Reeves, I clearly see a lot more than that. This is a man with potential. He could be doing so much more awesome stuff, and instead he chooses grift. He's like, no, I'm going to grift people and pretend it's helping them get to heaven.
Mm.
Dude, you don't have to, man. You've got the talent to not. You could have a very successful business selling space-themed stuff. I would buy some of it.
Yeah.
But instead, nope, we just go the Matt Powell route. It's honestly, it really is. It's the waste that gets me with David Reeves.
Yeah.
Estimate the number of stars in the observable universe. This is just the observable universe, just the ones we know about. We don't know about the ones we don't know about.
That's technically
deep.
true. I'll take a drink for it. It's a tautology, but still, I'll take a drink for it because you know what? Thirsty. All right, we're gonna get a little bit more in here, and then we're gonna start wrapping up.
Best estimates so far come to around 10 sextillion
Big
stars.
numbers right there. If that's on your bingo
That's a
card,
10 with
check it out.
21 zeros
Yep,
after it. That's a
big
big
number.
number. Now you're
He
like,
said
oh
it.
yeah, I've seen bigger numbers. Well, let me put this into perspective, all right? If you were to pick
I've seen bigger numbers. Yeah, it's trivially easy. Turns out you can write a 10, and then you can write anything in superscript. So, like, you can make an arbitrarily large number. It's great. That's how numbers work.
a grain of sand up on any beach or in any desert anywhere on this planet, you could pick that grain of sand up and confidently say, for each grain of sand, there are at least 1,000 stars.
Okay.
This represents at least 1,000 stars. So I think it's safe to say that just according to Jeremiah 33, yeah, we'll never know the actual number of stars, but there's a lot of them.
I mean, like, as a whole number down to the very last digit, yeah, probably not. Although when someone says, if you can number them, and then I'm like, okay, well, there's about, and then I think about anything, like, oh, okay, well, I can do the math and say that this sack of rice probably has, like, 50,000 grains. Do I know the exact number all the way down to the last digit? No, but it's not like I didn't number them.
Dapper, the more that I search on the Google,
Mhm.
the more I am coming to the conclusion that he does not show his prints anywhere except his live speeches.
So disappointing.
That's a waste, man.
Really is. All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get to the end of his bit. I'm not going to interrupt him anymore. We're just going to see what he says.
So the Hubble Space Telescope, ultra deep field, decided to do an experiment. They said, could we take a photo of deep space in between two stars? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold your miniature telescope up at arm's length. Not right here, you poke your eye out if you do that. Hold it up at arm's length and point it to the star field on the screen. Is there a possibility we can get the lights down? Is that easy to do? I don't know if that's easy to do or not, but if it's possible, I want you to hold it towards the screen, arm's length, and try to find a star. Now, that's going to be very difficult. Some of you might have found one. If you found one, I want you to point it in between two stars. Point it towards the blackness of space.
Wait, are they outside? So confused.
I don't know.
In between two stars. The Hubble Space Telescope looked at an area of sky just as large as you can see right now through your miniature telescope. They took a picture of that area, just that tiny point of light that you can see in a dark area of space. And they said, well, if we take an 11-day exposure, we accumulate light for 11 days, is it possible that we could actually catch a star that we've missed or something else that we've missed? Maybe there's something there just waiting to be discovered. And after 11 days of accumulating light,
Is it the Hubble Deep Field?
this is the picture that they got. In that tiny speck that you just saw through your miniature telescope, they found 10,000 galaxies, not stars. These are galaxies. Every point of light, every pinprick that you see is a galaxy containing several hundred billion stars.
Oh,
Do the
okay.
heavens declare the glory of God? We can have lights back up.
Sure, if you want them to. I don't really care.
The Bible knows best. Very good. You got to hit me on that one. You know what? Even more than the Bible knows best, we have an awesome creator. Because there's a passage in the book of Psalms that says that not only did God make all of them, he has a name for each and every one of them. So as we conclude, I'm going to leave you with an analogy.
Oh, okay. That he has a name for them is the claim of the Bible. But you notice it doesn't list them or anything. So it's just a claim.
Hebrews 3 says, every house is built by some man, but he that built all things is God.
Some houses are built by women. Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure if you were to actually check Hebrews, it would say anthropos and not like andros. So it probably just means human.
Did
But
you
you know,
just wait? Wait, say that again?
I said I'm pretty sure if we were to check the Greek, it would say anthropos instead of andros, which means just human.
I was looking at his astrophotography and I missed his quotation.
Oh, he was talking about how in Hebrews it says every house is built by some man, and then I said some
Oh,
are
okay.
built by women, and then I said it would probably says
Yeah.
anthropos, and I don't really care to check because
Gotcha.
Does the Bible list? You're walking through the woods one day, and you happen upon a clearing. And in this clearing, there's a beautiful cabin. This cabin is very picturesque. It's something that you would find in a calendar. It's something that you would find in a coffee
don't go down to the basement. Definitely don't read the little girl's journal.
table book. And you instantly think to yourself, first thing crosses your mind is, I bet you millions of years ago there was a tornado that poured through these woods and it started snapping trees, and the trees fell in the shape of the cabin walls. And then I'm guessing that sometime over the past several million years that there must have been a lot of sand build up in deposits, and that sand built up along the entire walls of the cabin, and then lightning struck the sand. You know what happens when lightning strikes sand? Makes glass. That's right. So it must have made the glass windows of the cabin. Okay, and then over millions of
Does it
years there
make
must have been
these
some sort of hurricane or
glass?
something, and it blew the sand away,
I'm
and there you had
drinking
a
again.
beautiful cabin in the middle of this clearing, just sitting there. Isn't that amazing? We would laugh. We would laugh. The greatest skeptic on earth. Try to tell them that story. What would happen? They're going to laugh you out of the park. They're going to be like, yeah, David, you got to be kidding me. Everybody knows somebody built that house. Oh,
Yeah, houses don't have sex and make little baby houses. That's not how they work. You know what does though? A lot of living things.
isn't that interesting?
It's not.
Does the
Every house is built
lightning make Visa glass?
Sometimes. But only if it's lightning from special trees.
Okay.
Somebody. But if that's obvious, let me tell you what's really obvious. He that made all things is God. Everything we see around us in this universe had a designer, had a creator. You have a designer. You have a creator.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
It would have been great if he'd had an argument that actually was valid and sound in favor of this proposition.
He knew you from the very beginning. When as yet there was none of you in existence, he wrote your book. He put it inside of you, and he loves you. In addition to that, he loves you so much that he sent his only begotten son to this earth to live, die, and be raised again so that we could be a part of his family.
All right, well, so now that we're just preaching,
Okay, yeah, he's just preaching now.
yeah, we're going to fast forward until we get to the next guy just to see who it is. And then we will start wrapping it up. So, Vishanti, if you have anything you want to announce, please go ahead while I scrub through this video.
Well, my wish list is in the description, and you are invited to look at it. And if you want to maybe buy me something, that would be cool.
Nice. All right, I'm going to hit play, and we're going to switch over to Dan Biddle, the man himself from Genesis Apologetics.
Knows best.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay, are you guys ready? We are about.
That's it. That's Dan Biddle. Apparently, he's going to be our next speaker. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So let's take a look at what is coming up here on this channel. Let me take a look at a calendar.
Wait, your next Roger video's coming out, right?
Yes, but that's not the next thing that's happening.
Hey. Okay.
All right, so next up we have Kent with Bent. Some number. It's going to be Evil Kent Rise.
13? 113?
That's probably right.
Close.
That'll be on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we're starting the birthday stream. We're going to do, I'm going to send links to guests who can pop in, pop out as they like. We're going to have games. We're going to have debunks. It's going to be a lot like the 10K subscriber, right? So there's going to be a little window with some Hollow Knight as I desperately try to finish that game. It's a lot harder when you're trying to also debunk and also keep track of guests. It's
That stream honestly was triggering ADHD for me. Like, wow.
sorry. So that will hopefully go for about a similar length to the 10K. So that'll be on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, the second part of 3 parts of Roger will come out. So we'll learn more about how it is that quantum physics really works, because Roger has the inside story on that. He really knows.
Uh-huh.
Of course. All the
He
scientists
definitely
are dumb.
he also knows how to read, diagrams of products listed for sale.
Yeah. Apparently numerous universities have him on like a blacklist of like, do not take this man's calls, do not forward him to any professors, just hang up on him. And he's like, why
Amazing.
won't they talk to me? It's like, I don't know, man.
Because you're a crank, Roger.
Right? So that's going to be on Thursday. And then on On the 17th, I'm not sure. So one of the things is I am thinking about actually looking at the stream that Sal did today about fitness, and possibly doing another stream with Zach Hancock, Dr. Zach Hancock, the evolutionary biologist, population geneticist, you know, the actual expert in this specific field.
Yeah. An actual scientist
Right.
who's doing actual science and
Right.
not just BS.
Who just this month got back from field studies and field work, collecting samples for more population genetics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about seeing if we can cover that, and that's going to only be if the stream is worth covering, right? So I'm going to take a look at it, and if it's just Sal whining a whole bunch, then no. And I say that because the stream he did before this, apparently he mostly just complained about Dr. Joel Duff, and also, oddly enough, about his guest Rebecca from Bread of Life, who...
Weak.
Look, here's what I have to say about Rebecca from Bread of Life. She can be frustrating to talk to from like a scientific standpoint. However, she's the only young Earth creationist YouTuber I know who had a Pride Month special. So I can't be too down on her. So, you know, yeah. Anyway, that's...
Well, you know, while over there just raging and coping, you know.
You know what? He's got to ease up, though, because there's going to be a copium shortage, and hopefully, if some trials go the way they should, there's going to be a whole lot of copium needed, and Sal can't hog all of it.
Look, he is floating in a tank of his own cope gas, and I think he might be able to fold space.
Cope Guild Navigator right there.
He's a Cope Guild Navigator.
Okay. Well, guys, if you get that reference, then good on you. We're going to see you all hopefully on Tuesday. Actually, no. I'm going to be on Chesh's channel in like an hour. Go hang out with Chesh's channel.
Oh!
If you're not going to do that, then hopefully I'll at least see you on Tuesday. So, bye, everybody.
Bye!
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Benthoven, Tapioca Weasel, Denny5252, Elleron Teller, Phil Rivara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostic Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babby, Monkey They Them, San, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.